All right, good evening, everyone. I think we're automatically starting here on YouTube Live. Looking at thunderstorm here in Limestone County, moving into western Madison County. So let me try to get my Facebook Live up. Should be working. So we've got a strong thunderstorm here. It's been rotating. In fact, it's got kind of a double area rotation in it now, mainly just producing some pea-sized hail. But we really have to keep watching it closely. Okay, I've got that going. So we are live here now. Let me share this a few other places. Again, this area's kind of got two areas of rotation in it. What our main concern would be is a spin-up tornado in here, maybe EF0 kind of thing, down the road. I don't think it's imminent, but it's definitely worth looking at. Okay, so I'm live in all my places I need to be. Good deal. All right, everybody, we're tracking this thunderstorm. It's getting a little stronger, and it's been kind of pulsing up most of the evening. I'm watching our Limestone County camera here closely as well, and I'll go to that here in just a second, so you can kind of see that. What I'm looking for would be like power flashes, something like that. We're looking pretty much due north. Now let's see how far north of the tower. Here's the tower. So we're going to turn this almost due north. Maybe I can get some of these lights out here to illuminate. A bit of a lowering the cloud here as you go out. Again, this is going to be looking towards Monrovia and Harvest. What I'm looking for would be any possible power flashes, which would indicate a tornado's presence, of course. So I'll continue to monitor that here on my, over here on my other camera. And then we'll just talk about the radar here real quick. Again, Weather Service is monitoring this. We've got very heavy rain going on in Harvest and Monrovia right now. And the storm's started to move just a little bit to the right, turning left. So let's get in here and I'll show you what this looks like. We've got two areas now, oddly enough. One over here just northeast of Piney Chapel and the other one right in here. I think that's 257 maybe. I'll get in street level here. 251, excuse me, 251. And then the other one's along Drawnball Road, it looks like, Black Road, Elkton Road, just east of Piney Chapel. This is just east of the interstate. And south of Ardmore, it's going to be about 7 miles south of Ardmore. The other one is 10 miles south of Ardmore. And then we're going to go due west of Harvest. Let me put that into motion. Again, it's not incredibly organized, but there is that circulation there right along 251. Velocity. Yeah, this shows it a little bit stronger here. Well, and then it goes away. So again, it's just kind of contracting, so to speak. It gets a little stronger, then it kind of relaxes a little bit. Breathing, basically. So very heavy rain in the same general area. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, so you get here, this is going to be Old Railroad Bed Road, Harvest Road going west towards Alabama Highway 251. Maybe some really small hail on Copeland Road. More lightning there. Switch over to the velocity again. So the stronger velocity signatures back here near Ed Ray Road and Mooresville Road, north of Nick Davis Road. So again, we got Magnolia Springs subdivision right in here. And you got where the old railroad bed road kind of curves back. And this, let me move this circulation just a little bit. I'm going to rock this back and forth a little bit, kind of get a better idea on the movement of it. Looks like this is pretty much moving down Copeland Road, which would take it out towards Sparkman High School. But again, I'm stressing this is, right now, it doesn't look like it's enough for a tornado. It's a broad circulation, but as we have seen earlier in the week, we want to watch. Again, if a tornado warning were to be issued tonight, it's most likely going to be like an EF0 spin-up small tornado. I don't see any significant signs of a tornado here, but very heavy rain moving into Harvest. Get some other roads on here. We've got Will Raby Road. This is going to be out towards Highway 53, out by the vet clinic out there. Old Railroad Bed Road and Highway 53. I think it's Countryside, maybe, if I remember correctly. Then you've got Wall Triana out here towards Harvest and Harvest Elementary, Carroll Road, Sparkman High. You got Anderson Hills subdivision out in here as well. Pettis Road and Wall Triana Road. You got Legacy Elementary right about here. Douglas Road, Seven Oaks subdivision over here. Once again, very heavy rain and occasional broad rotation here, but it's not enough for a tornado warning. I just want to let you guys know we're watching this closely for you as we go through the overnight hours. We'll be here. Eric Burke's coming in at midnight tonight. So as far as what's going on right now, we've got a strong thunderstorm and the potential's there for some pea-sized hail and gusty winds. But the storm itself is spreading out a little bit, so again, it's kind of contracting and it's almost like it's breathing. It's going this way. So that's why we're getting this kind of pulsing going on near Harvest, out Highway 53, just south of Ardmore. This is eventually moving towards Hazel Green and Meridianville and probably Alabama A&M campus. Again, I say this, meaning this thunderstorm. Check with the Weather Service again real quick. Again, they just have strong thunderstorm here. That's all it is. It's not a severe thunderstorm. And, you know, we never really got, sometimes they just go and spin, right? We've had some rotating rain showers this week. It's been a real challenging week, the month for that matter. This is the area we're monitoring between now and 1 a.m. for these possible isolated thunderstorms that get strong enough and rotate a little bit and occasionally produce a lot of lightning and then heavy rain and pea-sized hail. And as we go beyond overnight tonight, it's going to be 3 a.m., 6 a.m. along the front as it starts to come in. And I do want to focus a little more on this real quick because I know some of you aren't in this area of Madison County or East Limestone, and you're kind of wondering when your threats is, if you even have one, is going to develop. And the way it looks now, it's probably going to be closer to 3 or 4 a.m. out west because I just don't see. Yeah, we still have that area again. I'll get back to the radar in just a second. But I wanted to check Columbus Air Force Base. We got a little cell firing up over there in northern Mississippi. It's behaving itself, so to speak, right now. I'll get over there in a sec. But I do want to show you the model guidance for the early morning hours. In case you missed it, I'll slow it down too. So here's the model guidance on the current situation. It's handling it pretty well. We'll see what happens here by 11:30 because the model says this is going to move east of Madison County and fall apart. See that there? but it's about 15 miles too far north from what we have going on. And then as we go past midnight, this is when the wind shear starts to increase, but it doesn't show a lot of development, and we may be capped a little bit. But look what happens as we get into the 4 o'clock time frame, especially along Highway 64 in southern Middle Tennessee. That's when we start to see these more robust thunderstorms, and the wind shear will be higher right ahead of the main line. And we get what almost appears to be these areas of isolated storms that could rotate. So we'll have to watch these real closely. And then Eric Burke will be here in the morning tracking these for you. And then as we get past 9 o'clock, here's the other thing I was noticing, is it shows a little bit more intensification here east towards Arab, Scottsboro, and then eventually Guntersville and over into DeKalb County. So we'll be watching those areas there. But by noon, it's out of here. The rough weather's gone. But we just got to get through this. May just doesn't want to stop with its tricks and its antics, right? Let's get back to radar for you. Let you know what's going on here. Again, very heavy rain. I do want to, I'll go out to Mississippi real quick. So again, if you guys are out here in the shoals, this is not really producing anything. It's fading away a little bit. So we'll watch that. There's obviously some kind of boundary up here in North Alabama that the storms seem to like. And that's why they're kind of pulsing up. Velocity. So again, what we would see was a real different look on radar. You'd have a real strong signature here towards and away, and we don't have that. And the atmosphere is a little different than it was the other day when we had the that EF0 out on the arsenals. It's the clouds aren't as low. The clouds were almost on the ground. They're like 200 feet off the ground the other day. And any circulation you get, it's closer to the ground. Let me check my phone real quick. Yeah, sometimes I see data, the raw data, a little bit better when I go to, again, I use Radar Scope. That has all the elements I need. Take a look here at the vertically integrated liquid. Yeah, this storm just kind of keeps pulsing. It goes up and down. So it's kind of in a down stage now, but it'll probably tick back up. So what happens is it gets a little bit more intense for about 5 minutes, and then it slows down. So you get lightning that increases, and then all of a sudden it stops. And I think that's an indication that the rotation's probably, the low-level shear is not quite there yet. It's going to increase overnight, but this will probably be ahead of the increase in the wind shear. Let me just check some questions you guys got here. I know, yeah, it's an overnight event. So far, we've escaped the overnight events. This is probably going to turn into a very early morning, so 4, 5, 6 a.m. kind of event here as this moves in. Storm Prediction Center is probably going to be monitoring the model guidance from that just is finishing up now, and right now we're in what's called a marginal risk, and the Weather Service does not anticipate a watch being issued tonight. So if your weather radio goes off in the middle of the night, if it's not set for flash flooding, this is why it's always a good idea to have a weather radio, get a new one, and say, I only want tornado warnings, because that's the only reason you want to wake up in the middle of the night with a storm like this would be to go into the hallway. These will be hallway storms and it's a big if we get anything like that going on with these storms. Chris says, April's gone, why so many storms? We were talking about this with some other meteorologists today, and there's been some talk about the fact that it's been wetter than normal here, much wetter, and it's been cooler than normal well north of us up in the Midwest. So we're thinking that the jet stream's been stronger because of that temperature contrast. So Yeah, we started gangbusters in April. It was close to 90 degrees, and then it just shut off and started raining. So I think that's probably the big thing. There's more water in the air, and when you get more humidity in the air, and you get lower cloud levels, and any rotation at all can trigger. It's almost like a dust devil. That's how those form. And land spouts, you get a difference in the heating, the temperature. You get a thermal wind that'll develop. But I think a lot of specific questions on do we have to worry about it in my town? It's impossible to pinpoint exactly where anything may happen tonight. I will tell you, I think that the threat for a spin-up tornado is probably going to be higher tomorrow morning than it is right now because the front's coming in. This looks to me as if it's expanding a bit. Yeah, we're really getting a big expansion of the range. So what's likely happening here with the data, and let me get to it here for you, is instead of just a significant rotation pattern, we probably have, let's circle the heavy rain. We got very heavy rain over Harvest, right over Old Railroad Bed Road. And then when we take a look at the velocity, the storm relative is probably the best case to use here. You got all this red on the north side. And typically red is going to be away from the radar, but I think in this case, it's going this way. So we have a very large downburst with all that heavy rain. It hits the ground. So you get the wind in Madison probably out of the north, and the wind in Ardmore out of the south, and it's all outflow from that. And occasionally you get a little bit of the updraft in the storm that rotates a bit. So again, this doesn't have a classic I'm about to produce a tornado look at all. And the shear rates dropped off a little bit. So yeah, it definitely dropped off from where it was earlier. Let me take you back in time here. So right in that area there, 251, that was around 1044. Looked quite a bit more intense, and it's just kind of fading a little bit now. So again, I don't think there's an imminent threat of a tornado from this storm over Harvest, but this is Tornado Alley in Madison County. Yeah, there's nothing really spinning there. So again, heavy rain here from roughly Endeavor Elementary, Capshaw Road north along Old Railroad Bed Road, along Wall Triana Highway, Pettis Road, then over to Highway 53, up to Tony, Meridianville, Hazel Green, heavy rains moving in there. Ardmore kind of skipped you, it looks like. Let's see if it skipped you altogether, because it was tracking straight towards you. Yeah, it pretty much skipped you, the heaviest rain. Now what I'd like to do, I'm going to go back the last 2 hours. Expand this view out. Let's just see what's been going on. Sometimes it's good to go look at these loops and just, there must be some kind of boundary that it likes and it's firing up on it. Man, that hasn't moved very far at all in 2 hours. Let's go back 3 hours. So this all kind of initiated to the north. It was all moving east, and then it's firing on a boundary. And you can even see near Lucy's Branch over here at Joe Wheeler State Park where that initiated there, and then it started dropping to the southeast. And I think that's where we're getting kind of this rotation as it's rotating along, rolling along that boundary. So let me go back here. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. Yeah. So this over time is probably dropping more in this fashion here. So Meridianville, 1056, that's pretty much right now. Yeah, heavy rain there now. Mid-City on the north west side of Huntsville, probably going to roll in there around 11 o'clock. Huntsville, north side, 11:11. Ryland, 11:17. Maysville, 11:23. And Gurley around just before midnight. So a very slow-moving area, very heavy rain. And the boundary's pretty much in this area. I think we had a little cell fire up near Gurley earlier this evening. You can kind of see that firing. So Yeah, there's some kind of boundary right there. It's just kind of flaring up. So we'll continue to watch that as it rides down that boundary. And I'm going to go back to a 30-minute loop here. And we're back to the stage where it's not producing a whole lot of lightning. Yep, what Keith said. What we really need is some rain. We're probably going to need this rain in about 4 weeks. As you guys know, sometimes when it stops raining, it stops raining. Our crazy weather pattern. Let's see. I may have more comments on some other pages. I'm just going to check through some other pages here. Oh, we just had a slight uptick in the VIL value. So the hail threat may be going up a little bit. Let me see that here. It's coming. It's probably going to show up here on the next scan once it comes in. So out here towards, right over Magnolia Springs subdivision, probably pea-size hail. With that as it comes in, we'll just watch that. Again, this is a vertically integrated liquid. I really like using this product because it shows you kind of the intensity of the storm. It gives you a good idea of if it's intensifying. And that's pretty much down Nick Davis Road as you get, it's going to be out by the penitentiary. Or the correctional facility, Limestone Correctional. But maybe some pea-sized hail from Magnolia Springs. That does not do damage, by the way. Hopefully it won't get any bigger than that. I think I forgot what I was talking about. It's been a long week. As far as what I was going to talk about. You get in here a little bit closer. Again, that's right on Nick Davis Road. You got Endeavor Elementary right in here. It's going to move towards Capshaw. Again, this is going to track towards Mid-City most likely. Let's take a look at velocity, see if that's a little bit more. There's a little bit going on over here. It looks like, yeah, that's rotating a little bit here just west of Capshaw. That same area. So that's what's happening. We're getting some hail production there with that storm. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to check other comments. I've only got, I can only have one Facebook page at a time, so I'll get another one up. So, and this is just west of Capshaw. I think that's the, Capshaw Road. Just north of Reseda Nursery out here. West of Old Railroad Bed. There's our velocity. Shear rate is probably going to increase in the next scan. And there's the hail. So when you co-locate this area of hail with the rotation, that's telling you we've got hail production going on up in this storm. So let's go to the WFF page, check some comments there. I'm going to get you back to regular radar here. I'm also going to turn our camera that's out there a little bit farther east. Okay, let me go ahead and show you the camera too. I think that's going to be it. So let's kind of move over to the east a little bit more. Actually, that is looking almost due east down Highway 72. So we've got the lowering of the cloud here. I mean, it's really dark. It's going to be hard to see much of anything, but I think we're looking right at what would be possibly the wall cloud, where that tower light is kind of blinking there. Let me look a little bit higher so you can see a little bit better there. I'm going to switch here again, check your questions here. So that's the lowering of the cloud there. It's right now pretty much just north of Highway 72. That's where we do have the elevated rotation. It's on Capshaw Road, approaching Old Railroad Bed Road, actually moving towards Cliff Farm. So you're going to get a pretty good, this is going to go over the Cliff Farm area. So we may get more reports as this gets in the city lights. Again, I'm going to try to find more comments here. Okay, turn my volume down here. It's coming down to Meridianville. What about Owens Crossroads? That'll be down the road here. 13 inches of rain in Tony. All right, so I didn't have too many other specific questions. Again, it's hard to answer specific questions here, but we have the lowering of the cloud here. On the right side of the screen, this is going to be Highway 72. We're looking east towards Huntsville. See if I can focus a little bit better. I don't see any rapid rotation. I don't see any power flashes, which would indicate a tornado on the ground. Go back to radar. This is where we're looking. Latest lightning flash. So our camera's is right over here, and we're looking straight into that back of that storm. Actually a perfect spot. And there's that rotation there. And there's the tracker. So again, this is going to be just on the north side, about probably a half a mile north of Highway 72, moving towards Cliff Farm. Back end looks a little ragged. Let me see where that lines up with the storm relative velocity. Yeah, it's odd. It's right there. Again, it's going to be about a mile, almost 2 miles southwest of Magnolia Springs subdivision. This is going to pass to your south there, but it's pretty much along Capshaw Road. It's going to cross towards Balch Road. Loop that. There's a boundary there. It's just something that these storms are feeding off of. So the north side of Madison. Closely monitoring our camera there. Still not seeing much of anything. But as this gets closer to the city lights, we should be able to see a little bit better. Let me see if I can change. Yeah, that button's not doing much of anything. I'm going to move it over just a touch. All right, you guys aren't seeing that anyway, but I'll show it to you in just a little bit. Let's get back to this hail potential. It's all moving again towards Mid-City. It's going to go along University Drive from Cliff Farm on the north side of Madison. Again, this is where we're seeing some broad rotation with the storm. This is going to be moving on into Huntsville. Again, it's moving east and southeast. There's some kind of boundary there. Nothing new from the National Weather Service. And we don't know for sure if anything's going to be severe anywhere tonight. I'll go back to that lowering of the cloud there. Again, what you're looking at is East Limestone. You're looking east into the city of Huntsville. Yeah, there's so many lights here in the studio, hard to see some of this. But there's something a little suspect there, right by the blinking tower. You see that? It almost looks like a funnel. Let me... Hard to see there, that's for sure. I'm going to forward something to the Weather Service real quick. Yeah, it's going to, again, once we get into these city lights, we'll get a better view of that. Okay, I'm getting a better view here now. It doesn't look as pronounced right now, but again, that's what we're looking for, the lowering of these clouds here on the back edge. There's going to be a lot of movement to these. But again, no power flashes, that's good. Back to the radar for you. Yeah, again, this will be a not everyone will see it kind of deal. But it could get pretty intense in the morning. We'll just have to wait and see. So a lot of scud here, a lot of low clouds underneath this. Again, we're going to probably get a lot more visuals on this because it's moving into the city lights. The back edge of this is probably a bit of a wall cloud. That won't surprise me. We did have a wall cloud reported earlier. And we're right in we're in the perfect spot here to see it. Yeah, I think that's. I wish I could telestrate on there for you. Let me actually let me see if I can put this in play mode and telestrate. Definitely a low, yeah. So what we're looking at is basically right here. That is the lowering of the cloud. Low base in the cloud, so what we would look for underneath that would be power flashes, and you would see them. I don't see anything really going all the way to the ground. And this is going to be right on the north side of Madison, where you turn, basically it changes over to County Line Road. Actually, this is right on the north side, right on the north side, going pretty much east, and then it's probably going to swing south. So this is at Capshaw and Old Railroad Bed Road, pretty much. Where you got the Good Shepherd United Methodist Church right there. I think it's a little south of that, but it's continued to kind of chug east. Now it's on Balch Road, Balch and Capshaw Road, just north of Cliff Farm. Got a lot of new apartments out in that area. But I don't see any rapid rotation. I don't see any imminent tornado right now. I'm just telling you what we're looking at and where it is. So let's go back to radar here. I'll go ahead and stop that. So here's the area we're looking at on the camera. It's right here. It's not east of Old Railroad Bed Road. Got that new daycare center up here at Balch and Capshaw. They just redid all the turning lane up there. You got subdivisions over here off Capshaw Road. And I'm not telling anyone to seek shelter or anything like that right now because it doesn't have that flavor to it yet. But again, what we're looking at tonight, if we see anything at all, it's going to be, it would likely be a brief spin up. And we just, it's just, again, there's so much uncertainty with the way the weather's been behaving lately. Okay, the app is showing a storm coming into Albertville around 1:30 to 2, but your radar, well, the radar shows what's going on right now. You may be looking at like the future radar on the app. And by the way, if you're using our app, it defaults to future radar. So I've had a lot of people say, well, your radar is always off. And we've told the company about it. It just hasn't been fixed. So the monsoon at Nance and Capshaw, yeah. Just, again, a lowering of the cloud here. And you're looking at Highway 72, Slaughter Road. Very heavy rain all on the north side of Madison up towards the south side of Harvest. I'll expand this view out here a little bit. Again, if your mud was starting to dry up, there's more rain. It doesn't look very organized. The model guidance showed this falling apart around midnight, so let's hope that we're about 50 minutes away from that. But here's Old Railroad Bed Road to County Line Road. And the only part of Madison that's going to be impacted with the rain is the north side of Madison over towards the hospital on Balch and then down 72. This is going to be moving in to the TV station here pretty soon, so I'll be able to get a good look at it. The area where we've got the lowering of the clouds is pretty much kind of back in here. It's been moving more east though, but that's going to end up somewhere probably right over the TV station. So I may be able to look outside and get a good view at it here in a sec. So let's go back here into the radar. And I'm probably going to switch up here. I'll expand the view because I know we got people on from all over North Alabama. This is the only real cluster we have. It's on this west-northwest side. So I'm looking at other stuff here. You guys aren't going to see it right away. I can definitely see the heavy rain on that camera. So I've got our Huntsville, oh yeah, I can see it really well here. There's a lot of low clouds out there. Again, I've got get my bearings here. Let's go to the Space and Rocket Center camera. I'll get that up. We've been looking from East Limestone. Now we're getting into the city of Huntsville. Let me move that up so we get a better view. Actually, let me start that. So, low clouds in the city light. You can just see the very heavy rain out here. This is going to be, all right, we've got Top Golf right here. And the very heavy rain is moving down. You can see this big rain shaft right there. I'm going to try to co-locate that on the radar. That is very close to mid-city. And again, actually west of there. Oh, I see what we're seeing here. That might be closer to Slaughter Road here. Let me move the camera a little bit more to the west. Yeah, we've got this huge lowering of the clouds. You can see that. That is probably what's being reported. It may be reported as a wall cloud. That's big. It's probably too big for a wall cloud. Melinda wanted to know what's going on. I'm just updating everyone on the potential. We may get spin-ups tonight. This storm's been rotating a little bit, but it's not to the point where we have a tornado warning needed here. I'm watching the skyline, just kind of showing what the clouds look like here. Check the Weather Service again. Yeah, we're going to get more of these wall cloud reports as this moves in. And some of this is probably scud as well. But this is moving pretty much towards the camera a little bit in east-southeast. Get back to radar here in just a second. There's what the view from, here's another view. This is the view from East Limestone looking down line of the same cloud off in the distance. This right here. Again, that's on the southern edge. Very heavy rain out there tonight. and just a little bit of hail, pea-sized hail. And I think, again, there's a boundary that's lined up right in here, I think, that we can't see into. And you got this thunderstorm just kind of rolling along this boundary, and it just keeps, every now and then intensifies, but it doesn't look like, it's not a severe thunderstorm. It's just a lot of low clouds out here. For those just joining, let me go through the model guidance. I'll show you that. Let me find it here first. Yeah, there it is. So going back in time, watching how the models is handling this complex, go to 9:30. It kept it moving east, but it's now moving southeast. It's on a boundary, and the model may have missed this boundary. So having said that, it may continue farther east, but we'll just continue to watch it. And then overnight, so it gives us a break after this. Might see something flare up in Scottsboro around 3 or 4 in the morning, but I think a majority of the action is going to take place as we get into the 5 a.m., 4, 5, 6 a.m. time frame. And if we're going to see a watch, that's probably the time it would happen, because the Weather Service is not anticipating issuing a watch tonight for this. And notice that kind of hangs on the state line, and then we all see the front come in, and then they flare up a little bit down here into Morgan County, east side of Huntsville, and then western Jackson County around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So, again, this is one of those nights, a lot of uncertainty. There's very low confidence on us seeing a tornado, I will tell you that. And if we do, it's going to be these low end. There's not a lot of wind shear, but just enough for what we don't like are surprise tornadoes. EF0, 60 to 80 mile an hour kind of wind, very small. Again, you're fine if you're in your home. You could sleep right through one of these in most cases. So we're going to watch that. Let me put a storm track on this area here. I'm just going to track this main area with the low clouds and the occasional area of rotation. I'm going to track that kind of east and southeast. It's on this boundary. So pretty much Woodville around midnight, Pleasant Groves, midnight, Aspel, 12 o'clock, or 12:09, that is, Gurley, 11:41, Maysville, Ryland, between 11:20 and 11:31. There is rain ahead of this. And I don't think we're going to see a sudden increase or surge in what's happening here. This storm's just kind of chugging along, doing its own thing. All right, so I'm going to go back to your regular Facebook schedule program. I'm going to continue to monitor this. I'll have another Facebook Live if things start to intensify a bit. Again, we'll be here. Derek Burke's coming in. We'll be here through the overnight hours, and we'll continue to keep you up to date that way. Again, I'll continue to monitor this, and if needed, I will be back on here. And, of course, if needed, we'll definitely break into programming. And right now, thanks for tuning in, and you guys have a safe night. Again, I think the higher impact, if it's going to come to that, will be tomorrow morning or later this morning, however you look at it, about 4 o'clock in the morning through 7 o'clock in the morning. So, again, I'll show you this graphic here. And one of those nights where if you're concerned you don't have a weather radio, you may want to set your alarm for, say, 4 a.m. and see what's happening at that time. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Here, this from the Weather Service says it's still showing some broad rotation, no indicating of anything imminent or worth watching closely, which is what they're doing and we're doing. So again, we're watching it. We'll break in if needed.